All right, I want to expand on the video I did the other day about sort of roof and trim using complex profiles. If we have a situation where we have gable ends, there aren't hips and valleys and basically eaves all the way around the roof. We have conditions where there are gutters and bar drafters, sort of gable end type stuff. I don't usually use a single profile. I'll use something like a beam for the fascia, a beam for the bar drafter. So let's just say, for example, we've got 5/4 by 8 trim here. I'm going to say that this is, should have a trim. This is just the out of the box template, but whatever template you're using, make sure that you're using layers that kind of make sense and settings here that make sense. So first thing I'm going to do is put on a fascia. If this is the overhang and I'm measuring my overhang to the face of the fascia, what you could do is set the reference line of that beam to the face right here. Oops, I'm going the wrong way there. Let's go ahead and flip that here. So I'm going to put that here so that as I'm drawing this, it's basically going to cut through right there all by itself. Right, and you can see that it's not exactly happy with that intersection, but we'll clean that up here in just a second. And then here's my bar drafter, something like that, right? Now, where you have the fascia here and the bar drafter coming down, these things, because they're beams, they like to try to miter. A way around this is to have, for your layer combination, a separate layer. So let's go ahead and select this layer, and I'm going to create a new trim, A-trim, and then under the extension here, I'm going to call it non-intersecting, and I think the default trim layer here was set to 4, so let's go ahead and set this to 3. It doesn't really matter as long as they're different numbers. We're going to make sure that that is there, updated. Okay, so I'll do that for things like my bar drafter so that these two things don't play well together. They're intentionally not going to interact with each other. So that I could say that my fascia stops here. If I wanted to, for example, crop this trim off, you could actually do that here in the settings. Where are we at here? So let's just measure down. How far down are we on this? Will it be 7 1/4 on the diagonal? I'm not sure what that turns out to be. We'll do a little guess and check design while we're at it. We want to keep that there, and then we're going to add a segment basically. So we'll say add a segment. This is the top segment, this is the bottom segment, just depends on which direction you drew the beam in from. In this case, we'll say that this is fixed, and maybe its length is 2 inches, and that has a taper to it. So if we say that that taper starts at, let's say, 6 inches, and we'll just see where that gets us. So you can see right there, like starting to understand what that actual height and length would be. Obviously, you could do this in elevation and get the actual dimensions of those things. Here I'm being just kind of loose for the sake of the model. And then let's go ahead and set this to 7 inches and see where that puts us. Almost. Oh, and then the other thing about this is that joint segment can be set to any angle we want it. So there we're getting closer. That might actually be all we need right there. Oh, pretty close. Okay. Anyway, you get the idea. We can fuss around with this. Best way to do this is actually probably in elevation, because then we understand exactly what that joint connection needs to be. Now let's say we have a condition maybe where instead of having, so I'm going to go ahead and mirror this across, something like that. And actually let's go ahead and mirror the rafter here across too while we're at it. Okay, so let's say that we've got a condition where this fascia is not vertical, maybe it's sloped, right? So I can click on this roof and I can say that this roof edge is perpendicular, right? So that comes like that. Let's take a look at this roof and see what the angle of that is. So that's 26.56. I'm going to copy that out there. And then I'm going to say that this piece right here, well first, let's see here. Under the beam settings, we will say that this is rotated to that angle, right? So this is on the trim 3D layer. This is, let's put this on the trim 3D layer as well. And let's get rid of that segment. So we're gonna say that, we're gonna remove that segment piece right there. So now these two things can actually intersect because they're both at the same angle. You see there a little bit of model imprecision, so let's go ahead and shift that back up to here. Now those things are all gonna be nice and tidy. So whichever method you need there, whether it's a vertical fascia or horizontal fascia, there's some methods you can use for that. If we go to my solid element operations, we'll set those as operators. This piece is my target, and we'll do a subtraction with downward extrusion, and then those get cleaned up. So there's a couple of different conditions. To add a little bit more detail, you can go to plumbing, pipes and plumbing. We can say gutters. I prefer these gutters over complex profiles most of the time. It gives you downspout holes, it gives you hangers, it gives you a lot of different options. You can drop that in just like that. And there's even profiles and shapes that you can use for these gutters. So they're pretty useful, pretty flexible, and it gives you good plan detail. All right, so let's, a couple of more conditions that we might have as an example. Let's just say we had a flat soffit here. It's sort of a dated style, but I'm gonna go to my slabs. And I'm going to put this on my ceiling layer. I'm going to put the reference plane at the bottom. I'm going to make this a composite, and we'll just, well, we don't have a soffit. All right, so we'll put it on the ceiling composite for right now, and we're going to edit that here in a little bit. So if I had something like this, right, I'm going to go ahead and drop that into right there, and we'll pull that down like that. Now we go edit, select a composite profile. We'll just duplicate this and we'll call it our ceiling soffit. It's always easier to duplicate an existing than to create one from scratch because you get the pens and everything that might be set up for your specific template. So I'm gonna say that this is wood, where are we at here? Wood structural, sure, that'll work. And we'll call this, you know, maybe it's a hardy panel soffit or something like that. So maybe it's like 3/8 inch thick soffit. Maybe this is 3.5 inches, whatever it needs to be there to make that work. And then I can apply that here. So ceiling soffit right there is applied. And then this could run down the face of the eave. This is the design we're going for. And maybe it even wraps around a little bit. You know, this is not an uncommon design type. So we'll say that that's what we're doing there. Now it's really important not to get like fixated on exactly one view. So check it out in plan. Check it out in your section as well. So if we open that section here, where is, oh, there it is. So it's down at this end. That's fine. So there's that soffit, right? So I can see where that soffit lines up in section a lot easier than I could in 3D or floor plan. So maybe that's where it sits. Or if it does sit up higher, you know, maybe something like this, then you would have to do a solid element operation with downward extrusion. So this is the operator, this is the target, subtraction with downward extrusion, and then execute. And then that would be clean for wherever that soffit comes through. Okay, so let's look back in our 3D view now and see how we can get this to wrap around and create that hip that we might have in this overhang. So I'm just going to mirror a copy of this. We'll right click, convert to single plane, split to single plane roofs. Okay, we don't need this side. We're going to go ahead and rotate this around, right? Something like that. And we can use our pet palette to push and pull. If you right click, editing plane, horizontal, that'll snap right to there. Now we can select this roof, and if we hold down the command key on the Mac, we can trim, oh, sorry, if it's not single plane roofs, it doesn't work. So we'll have to split that into a single plane roof as well. And then maybe it even hips around to back to the wall so we don't end up with this gable end situation here. So we can do that here as well. Mirror this across, right? Use the split command to split this at that wall so we get that nice and clean. Now we can grab this and trim this one back, grab this right here, trim this one back. Now we get a nice sort of eve gable end return. We can take these guys, clean them up as the target, this as the operator, subtraction with upward extrusion. All three of these roofs are the operators, the slab is the operator, all three of these roofs are the target, and subtraction with downward extrusion, right? And then if we take this same fascia right here, oh, it's gonna go the other way. Walking to that axis. We'll grab these same two beams right here that we just put in. Oh, you can get those. Those are the operators. These are my targets. Do a subtraction with downward extrusion. Didn't seem to like that. It's likely that maybe those beams are not right on the line. Let's try one more time. So those are the operators. The roofs are my targets. Anyway, probably fuss around with building materials or check the alignment and section. Obviously model as precisely as we can. Get the barge rafters in here, sort of model it the way it would be built, right? And then we can even put those gutter objects that we had before directly into here. One of the cool things about these gutter objects is that the ends can be mitered, so we can have like a 45-degree angle. Oh, got the wrong side there. So we can dump this right on that fascia, pull this end back, mirror this across. Obviously I want the downspout hole to be in a specific place as well. Anyway, so that gives you an idea of how we can get to a higher level of detail with some of the roofs. Now, if we have exposed rafters, right, I can take, let's just say I've got a 2x10 rafter here, for example. This is just another composite that I had created. I'm going to take this rafter beam here. It's just a beam that I modeled there to represent that rafter. Let's just, as an example, say that this is 9.25 inches. And maybe the rafter tails, the exposed open rafter tails are, oh, and then this would be 1.5 inches wide. Okay, and then we'll copy this over. So just dragging a copy of it to the face of sheathing here. And then I'm going to take my split command again. I'm using shortcuts for that, but it's just under edit, reshape, and split, or on my toolbar, it's up here on that little axe symbol. Then I could take this guy and make this, you know, if we've got 5.5 inch rafter tails, for example, use the multiply command to say that these rafter tails are spread 2 feet on center, or whatever the rafter spacing is, and then just copy those through, whatever spacing they're at. Now the section, obviously I want to see this roof with the actual thickness in the section. So if I were to look at this piece in section, you can see those rafters that I have there. Let's just go ahead and drag this down. And we'll go back into the section here, right? So I'm only showing the rafter tails here, but if I want to show the actual rafter or roof body here, if I need to see the thickness of that, one thing that I've done in the past is just copy that and then go to the settings of this, and we'll make it this roof instead. So now I've got this roof includes the soffit and everything. We can actually go, so edit that composite. We're going to duplicate it. We'll call it 03. Obviously it's not a 10-inch roof, so I want to be more careful about the naming. But in this case, I can remove the soffit piece, and we'll apply that to here. Right, so I actually have two roofs representing the same thing here. And then what I'm going to do with this inner roof that's the body, I'm going to come to the roof geometry and say that it's 0 overhang. And that way when it lines up here, right, I've got my roof body here. If we come back into the floor plan, let's grab our soffit piece here again. That might be good enough for now. You might need a special composite for this as well, but let's go ahead and dump that in here. Now when we look at our section, right, this would be like the bottom chord of the truss, wherever that needs to come through. You can grab these things, right click, connect and merge. It should find the building materials where they need to exist. But then also we want to eliminate the overlap because this roof and this roof are overlapping each other. So we're going to say that this is the target. This outer just skin only is the operator. And we're going to do a basic subtraction and execute. And then we get a nice clean roof here. You could also just as easily have said that this roof, which actually shouldn't have the soffit piece on it. Hold on, let me just double check that here. Oh, we didn't remove that, so we'll get rid of that. There we go. That's a little bit tidier. Anyway, so you could also just get rid of the sheathing and the finish and just have this as a separate roof. But this gives you an idea of how you can get to sort of a higher level of detail. You can put your fascia, you can put your gutter, whatever on the outside of this. But modeling that with separate pieces like that gives you a higher level of detail. You could put corbel brackets or outlookers, just sort of piecing it together with separate beams and adding more detail is going to be the way that you clean up your sections, clean up your elevations, make everything live to the model in all of your documented views.